Hello again, everybody, and welcome to episode 34 of going through a 1971 Topps Vending Box. We go about a pack at a time. It's worth of cards. We're getting down, there's not a whole lot left here. And then we always like to do something else, and today we are going to go through old players in the Negro Leagues who are in the Hall of Fame. My goal has always been collecting a playing day card of everybody in the Hall of Fame, and that's been really difficult to do with Negro Leaguers just because many of them don't have cards in the Hall of Fame. In fact, these are the ones up top here that don't have a card when they were playing in the Hall of Fame, or if they do, it's like a one-of-a-kind or two-of-a-kind type of card. And I include in this some of the what you'd call almost like the inner sanctum of the Hall of Fame guys. Cool Papa Bell, one of the best center fielders of all time. The guy that he roomed with Satchel Paige once, and they had a light switch that wasn't working so well, and he shut it off, and he'd get into bed before the room turned dark. And Satchel Paige always talked about how fast Cool Papa Bell was, and he was really fast. He could get into bed before the room turned dark after turning off the lights. But Cool Papa played a long time with the St. Louis Stars, and then ended up playing with some other teams after that, including probably one of the best Homestead Graves teams ever. You got Turkey Stearns here, who is arguably with Ty Cobb, one of the best players ever in the city of Detroit. Good outfielder with some power. Both Cool Papa and Turkey Stearns, I don't have his book. They have books about him. Buck Leonard, they called the Black Lou Gehrig. They also often called Josh Gibson the Black Babe Ruth. And Buck Leonard, who played 17 straight years with the Homestead Grays, which is really uncommon for the Negro Leagues with the way money came through and stuff. Players changed teams a lot, but Buck Leonard was a first baseman with the Grays for a long time. We got Judy Johnson, who maybe the one of the best third basemen of all time, and he's sure going to be probably on my list. I've been running through the best at position so far, just on shortstop and second base. Third base might be next, and you probably see Judy Johnson there. You did see Willie Wells when I was doing the shortstops. Made my top 10 list of all time. Was a teammate of Cool Papa Bell for a long time with St. Louis, and they were good friends as well as teammates. In fact, Willie Wells' ex-girlfriend, who was a little too high maintenance for him, ended up marrying Cool Papa Bell. And they were married for a long time. And then you've got a pitcher who had quite the velocity in Smokey Joe Williams. So those are guys I'd call inner sanctum Hall of Famers. I include a couple guys here. Buck O'Neil made the Hall of Fame, not really for his playing days, but just contribution to baseball. He was a longtime player, then a coach, and then did so much just for baseball and baseball history. And then I also included Goose Tatum on here, who's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but was a first baseman with the Indianapolis Clowns. And there you see him on an old Harlem Globetrotter card with Curly Neal and Meadowlark Lemon. So these front guys were Negro Leaguers that also got to play in the major leagues and had, I guess, major leagues, Negro Leagues is one of the major leagues, and that's one of the misconceptions. I think a lot of times it is noted as a major league, but what I guess at the time was considered major leagues, and we should call it American League or National Leaguers, but they got cards of them, Topps or Bowman, or relief cards back in the day. I guess there's Hank Aaron's, it's a 59 Bazooka. So those are some of those guys' cards. And then what we're going to do is go through this stack of what is actually available that you could pick up for playing day cards of guys who played in the Negro Leagues. And there's not many. They're tough to get. I'm lucky enough to have two. So we'll look at those along with just what has been sold lately in auctions and what you can get. But before we do that, we are going to do what we've been doing here, and that is pick out, looks like a good group there, packs worth of cards, and move these over for now, see what we get. out of these 71s. So kind of sticking with the really nice condition 71 cards. Ted Abernathy. And I like what we're getting after Abernathy, as we have seen a few other times. After Ted Abernathy comes a Rod Carew, and we've had some just gorgeous looking Carews. This one I think might be another well-centered card. Let's move that over. Yes. Beautiful. That's our 6th Carew out of this vending box. Have not been lucky with K-line Seavers and benches, but been really good with the Carews. My son was kind of really interested into this card condition when I tell him I might submit some cards, and I had him look through what I considered kind of my best of the best, and he picked out like 12 that had no what he can consider no flaws, and he was measuring them for centering and the correct width and height and all that. And 2 of the Carews he said were perfect. So we will see. Here's another Hall of Famer, Ron Santo. And our Santos have been a little off-center. This one is as well. I'd say that Sam McDowell was a pretty nice card there too, of a really top-notch player. Mike Andrews. Looks like a good card. And we've got a Bob Bailey. Nicely centered, good corners. We got the guy who was in Gilligan's Island, Al Ferrara. Got a Gary Peters. Nicely centered. Duke Sims. Card. Dave Moorhead. That one looks real nice. And hey, another Hall of Famer. We got 3 Hall of Famers in this little batch, man. It's really nice. Willie Stargell. Look at that. Another nicely centered card. Good corners. Beautiful. Nice, nice. We've got enough here. I picked a lot out today. I think I'm going to put... Sorry, after that Stargell, that's good enough. We're going to put the rest of these back for next time. I'm not going to look at them yet. But that's enough for today. We got to spread this out a little, especially after getting such good cards. Man, look at that. If you're a kid going to the corner grocery store, and at that time you'd have baseball cards in every grocery store, get a pack that's sitting next to the corner, and you got this pack. I think you'd be pretty happy. Very nice. All right. So with that, we are going to look at these Hall of Famers, or yeah, Negro League Hall of Famers. Kind of excited with what I got here. And go through cards that are available. So I have 2. And one is this 45-46. It's a Cuban card. Carmelo de Portova, Raymond Brown card. And then I also have, this guy was in my top 10 second baseman of all time. And this is the year after that, of 46-47, Carmelo de Portova. Martin Dehigo, Cuban card. He was a Cuban player for much of his career. He was also a pitcher. So the rest of these are cards I got that are not playing day cards, but we're going to look at what was available for playing day cards of these guys. And we're going to start out here. This is Willard Brown. And this is a Willard Brown that you see. This is a Toleteros from 49.50 that went for $780. And there's been just a couple Willard Browns that have sold. Willard Brown is a player who actually played 67 games in the majors. Josh Brown kind of nicknamed him Home Run Brown because he had a lot of power. But with those 67 games in 47, the same year Jackie Robinson, he was with the St. Louis Browns. But he actually was discriminated against pretty highly, and just Did not have a good experience. Didn't hit that well either, and he didn't end up coming back to the, then was the majors, and went back, played just a little more in the Negro Leagues. He also was a little older at that time, and so his career ended. Next guy we're going to talk about here, Oscar Charleston. He was actually number 5 on Joe Pasnowski came out with a couple years ago, the top 100 players of all time. This is all leagues. And this was the highest rated Negro Leaguer, was Oscar Charleston, number 5 of all time. He played in the, came up in the 20s, played through 41, but he had a few cards back in the early 20s. This is the Tomas Gutierrez card from 23-24, you can see, in a SGC3 that sold for $27,000. Oh, not an easy card to get. I found 3 cards of him sold looking through the archives on auction houses, and yeah, one went for $40,000. You got this one, and then there was one PSA 1 24-25 Igualitas card that sold for $2,600. In I don't have the year that one was sold, but maybe that was a little older. Maybe that's why. All right, next we've got Andy Cooper. Andy Cooper was a relief pitcher, and Andy Cooper had, oh, this is Harry Danders. Let's see where we, well, I don't have my Andy Cooper card, but anyway, Andy Cooper had a card recently that was sold. It was August of 2023. It was a Nacionales card that went for $7,200. It was in an SGC2. And I've seen 4 actually sold in the last few years from between 4K and 12K. This one that went last auction, I was following it in the auction, and it would have been nice to get, but it went for a little too steep for me. But it was in an REA auction. So our next guy is Ray Dandridge. And Ray Dandridge was a third baseman. Had a really good arm. Probably a hit first guy. But here is also a Carmelo Di Portova card of him that went for $900 in just a year ago. So somewhat attainable. I know that's a lot, but compared to these other guys, that is one of the more obtainable cards. That was in an SGC1. All right, next guy is one of the best pitchers of all time, a World War II vet. He was actually in the Normandy invasion. Little 5'7", 140-pound pitcher, Leon Day. And there is a Leon Day card. I've seen a couple of these go. This is a Toleteros card that went for $1,320. And this was in 2015 that this sold in a SGC3. So pretty neat looking card. Next we've got one of the best of all time, Josh Gibson. And as you can imagine, his cards are pretty tough to get. And they're actually not playing day cards. It was a couple years after he retired. But this is not really, well, he retired and died in 1946 of a brain tumor. But Josh Gibson's 50-51 Toleteros card. And this is the only card that I've seen go, and what I can find on old cardboard website. But this card, and depending on the condition, this one's a VG3 that went for $42,000. I've seen cards go up to $80,000 on him, and it's he's going to be a pretty tough to attain one, just because I don't know if you're going to get anything much cheaper than this, and most of them are going to go in that $70,000-$80,000 range, which is, yeah, I guess out of probably most people's leagues. Next, we've got a guy who was on my all-time shortstops list. And maybe I should have picked him number 1. I've kind of found it afterwards. The guy I picked number 1, Hannes Wagner, said, man, it was great to be even compared to Pop Lloyd, after they called Pop Lloyd the Black Hannes Wagner. I picked him 3rd on my all-time list, but Pop Lloyd has a few cards available. This is an SGC3 24-25 Aguilitas card. And you can see that one went for $7,800 in 2018. Other cards, he had a SGC7 Tomas Gutierrez card sell for $15,000 in 2019. That's the most recent card of him I've seen. This is another one of those probably top 20 of all-time baseball players. After Pop Lloyd, we got Biz Mackie. And here's actually another Pop Lloyd card too. This is a Billiken Cigarettes card. Went for $2,700, and that was in 2004, so it was a long time ago. But anyway, we got Biz Mackie. Biz Mackie, one of the best catchers. He is the guy Roy Campanella basically credits for everything that Campanella was able to do. He was a longtime coach after player, and he played for over 20 years, from 20 to 47. I have not seen a card of him sold. This is his 24-25 Aguilitas card. And Roy Campanella said that he credited him so much that when Campanella had his kind of celebration, Roy Campanella Day, after he was in that tragic accident in 1959. There was 90,000 people there at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And he said, I'll go there if Biz Mackie can stand by my side. And he did. So Biz Mackie got part of that 90,000 people applause. All right, our next guy we've got here is Jose Mendez, who's a Cuban pitcher. Mendez has had a few cards sold. This is his 23-24 Nacionales Cigarettes card, went for $3,600. This is in an SGC2, and that was in 2012. I've seen a couple since then. There was one in 2022 that sold for $6,600. So pretty tough. After him, we've got Hilton Smith. He was a longtime pitcher. Hilton Smith has some nice looking cards. It's an SGC6 from 48-49, sold for $5,700 10 years ago. I've seen a few others. He had one in 1920 that was an SGC1 that sold for $1,500. So maybe a little closer to obtainable for some. And then last, we got Cristobal Torriente, Cuban right fielder, had a terrific arm, was a left-hander. This is his 23-24 Nacional. So you can see most of these are from the 20s, unless they were the late 40s, are the ones that have cards. This is a card that went for $3,600 in an authentic, and this was in 2012. He did have a SGC 1.5 that went for $6,000. That was quite a few years ago too, and a PSA 1.5 though that went for less, and that was just 2018, went for $3,800. So those are the Hall of Famers from the Negro Leagues that you can actually get cards of, but good luck getting any of them. If you get one, it's a huge find, and it means you probably got some decent resources. I looked on eBay. There was no current Hall of Famers from the Negro Leagues exclusively, I should say, that have cards available right now on eBay. I'm going to keep looking. One that I'd really like to someday get would be that, like a Pop Lloyd, who was such a good player. And, you know, it's not just Negro Leaguers that have been so hard to find for Hall of Famers. I guess I've got all but 4 of these that are not Negro Leaguers. That's Pud Galvin has been really tough for me. I've seen a few for sale, but they're all seem like they've been going for more than I wanted to pay. Jesse Burkett is one. Frank Seeley, who really only has one card. And now a recent inductee, not that recent anymore, but Deacon White, who's been really tough with just an old judge that he's got. But that's all I've got for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's probably something a lot of people maybe aren't that interested in, but I've had a big interest in it, being a Hall of Fame collector. And here's another look at what we got in today's pack. Really nice one from from the 71 vending. We'll hope to see you again next week. Take care, everybody.